Hello, Jim here. Different type of video. I want to address something that's really important that I've run into throughout my career. Can you start an instrument later in life? And every music teacher should definitely encourage that and say yes. There are some hurdles that you'll go through, and I'm going to give 5 situations, thoughts, concepts, at least 5 right now. But one of the things I want to say, after teaching music for over 30 years, yes, I'm old, I'm 53, I have seen the same reoccurring theme, and it seems to be a little stronger on the internet and YouTube. All right, so some of this stuff might make sense with common sense, but sometimes when we get into a new hobby, we're just so excited we want to get from point A to point D right away. All right, so you got to have a plan, and the plan is researching, listening to maybe me for a little bit, also researching books, researching maybe a teacher, but also thinking about consistency, your commitment, your time. I have a student I taught a while ago. They were 72 and they were really getting frustrated. They just couldn't get both hands playing at the same time. And I said, well, how are you practicing? And I said, well, I have been so demotivated, I haven't practiced for 2 months. So right away, that's the valley of despair, I call it. And if you are going to be in a situation where you're completely not motivated, I get it. You won't get to the instrument, but we won't layer the learning. So you have to go through this phase of uncomfortableness. Everyone has issues. That's what's hard about piano playing, is that coordination and the music reading. Luckily, generally we're in tune, or we have to get a piano tuner to tune it. So the plan is a few things. One, you have to know that you're going to commit. It doesn't mean tons of time, but it does mean that you have to find time, try to each day, because that's how our brain learns. I'm trying to learn Spanish right now, and I'm not doing very well because I've been missing some days. And that's just how it is. Our brain needs that. All right, so I'm looking down here at my quick little sheet here. You have to be prepared to hit the wall. So I talked about it later. The wall of frustration, the wall of desperation. I was working with a younger student, well, a young adult, and she was able to play some songs by following the colors on the screen, which is short-term learning. But if it gets you playing, that's great. But then the student was working on chords and inversions. And they said, I'm just moving at a snail's pace. And I said, your brain's taking a lot, from different fingerings to notes. It's a gain skill, and it takes time. When we are adults and we have skills with something, our brains can just do it without thinking. But when you get into something new, like piano playing, it's just going to take time. For instance, I'm playing some guitar, and I definitely enjoy the process. It's not a pretty sight, but I'm having fun. And that's a good thing for me to do as a teacher, because it reminds me of all the pain that we have to go through. You can't beat yourself up. Everyone goes through this as far as hitting the wall of frustration at any age. Sometimes adults will get frustrated faster because we have busy lives and whatnot, but taking a quick break can get you through the next phase. But you don't want to give up. You want to stick with it and give yourself some time. Some people ask, well, how much time? You know, I hate to put a number to this since I'm just looking at a camera, but it depends on your life. You know, give it a good 6 months to a good year. If we think that learning piano is like buying an object, then we're not in the right mindset. We have to think about going through the journey and getting skills. If we think we're going to play like an awesome pianist that we love, or we want to play a hard Billy Joel tune, those are big gain skills, meaning it takes time. You can get playing right away, and you can get into some songs, but just be patient with it. All right, so we're at number 3. This is a big one, and if you're still with me, then you have a chance of being a good learner, because one of the things on the YouTube universe is that it's not just the short attention span. It's the scroll addiction, finding something kind of shiny and pretty. And that's one thing with learning an instrument's not. You're going to have to go through the suck phase. So if you haven't clicked off yet, that's awesome, because that means you're going to be a good learner and ready to go. And that is just a compliment to you. If we keep shifting our brains, trying new things, we're not going to get a foundation. Again, in the beginning of the video, I mentioned about how I've been doing this for 30 plus years, and these are the reoccurring themes. When we're always looking for a shortcut, and that's number 3, the shortcuts, is short term. I'm happy if a student comes in and they might have learned something through the synesthesia. Of course, that was never around for Beethoven, but I digress. If you're learning and playing, you're motivated, but just keep in mind when you want to look at a piece of music, you're going to have to go through this little phase of playing really simple and letting your mind digest it. I know there might be disagreements to this. That's fine. All I know is if you can get a piece of music and look at it and then play it, that is a win-win. If you're depending on a software, a phone or a tablet to show you what note to play, I don't see that as a win-win. And if you look at the big channel Piano Note, they don't talk about that. They show notes. Or other great channels like Piano from Scratch, Online Pianos with Tim, Bite Size Piano, they're never talking about the colors. In fact, Francesca, I think on Bite Size Piano, has talked about the disadvantage of that. Going back to what I said, if you want to get playing, great, but they are short-term, shortcuts for short-term goals. I had an adult student a few years ago. They followed the synesthesia, they did all these different YouTube channels, and then, I quote, after 3 years, I felt like I didn't learn anything. Again, the foundation. So that's that. All right, number 4. All right, how are you as a learner? Are you more auditory? Are you visual? Do you want to learn in person? Can you afford a teacher? Are you motivated by a certain YouTube channel? You need to figure out what motivates you. Do you have a sense of humor when you make a mistake? Are you going to get anxious if you can't get something? Because these are things that you need to realign with yourself, because you're the only one that's going to get to the piano bench. You're the only one that's going to dedicate the time. You could pay for the best piano course. You could pay the best piano teacher. But if you're not going to sit down and do the dirty work, it's not going to happen. But what needs to happen is how you relate to that teacher or those YouTube channels. The other thing I want to point out is that if you feel like you're moving too slow and you still want to get to this piece, maybe ask that teacher, what can we do to get this? Or content creators, educators love it if you email or put something in the comments, what can I do to get faster at this? So one of the things that I've done is simplify a piece. Some of my adult students have arthritis. They can't play really big, stretchy chords. So redoing a piece, simplifying it, is a win. Don't see it as a dumbed down thing. It's not that. It's about you enjoying your time with the instrument. You're getting wonderful skills. You're getting that dopamine hit when you get your favorite melody down. So that is really important. Kind of went off a little bit about how you as a learner, but the key word is motivation. All right, number 5. This is really important. Passion and process. Too many times in our society, we just want it and we want it now. And I've seen this with all ages. It's not just a teenage thing. I have found such gratifying moments as a teacher when a student can play a scale with both hands in really good time. Meaning that is a passion of the process. If we always concern ourselves for an end result, then you're going to be hitting so many bumps and you're going to only be thinking about the end goal. It's good to have goals, but what about breaking it down step by step? I think that's the disadvantage with YouTube. There's so much out there. You could spend a lifetime scrolling, learning little bits here and there, but then when it comes down to it, do you have that right foundation? And that's pretty frustrating. I've had students come to me and talk about it, and they're not sure. They can't read, a basic chord written down, or they have a hard time understanding how to clap out a rhythm. So you have to enjoy passion in the process. And if you've watched this far, because I have been doing content for a while, you are in good hands. Whoever you decide to work with, if you can afford a teacher, or if you are going to be working with different piano YouTube channels, you're in good hands. That means you really want to do it. And that's what comes down. At the end of the day, it's you, the motivator. So another quick story, when I had an adult student, this is about a year ago, they wanted to learn a few pieces from book 2. I'm just going to say book 2 because I don't want to give too much information, because I don't want to make anyone feel bad, but this is the learning moment. They didn't get through book 1 yet. They really wanted to play these pieces out of book 2. So they did it, and they never really got it down. They got frustrated. They took a break. They don't want to come back to it. They're playing guitar. They're upset with guitar. So you have to look deep on the steps. Another one is this, speaking of steps. I've had adult students write in the note names for each piece, not once, not twice, but for months. So what are they doing? They're looking at the letters. They're not looking at the notes, so we're not learning the language. You have to understand the discipline. That's the patience and process. And for any good teacher will remind you, yes, we can modify. We can take this shortcut. This will help you. We know you just want to have enjoyment, but to just cheat everything, you really end up, and after decades, I've seen it over and over again, you really end up shortchanging yourself and your potential. Lastly, I didn't put this in here. Here's a bonus one, rhythm. Rhythm is something that's not always really taught in a clear manner because our brain's thinking about fingerings and notes. So you're gonna have to break things down. And speaking of which, I do have a PDF on like rehearsal, not rehearsal, but practice guide. And that could help you, whether it's learning and how you wanna learn rhythm and beats and all that. So you can check that out if you wish. And I'm hoping this video was helpful because it makes the world of difference to me as a teacher to serve and let people know on what actionable steps you want to take. Take care. Bye-bye. I wish everyone well, and don't give up. Music's a wonderful art. Bye-bye.